Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's AGS webinar. We are very excited to present Kelly McDonald. Kelly McDonald is considered one of the nation's top experts in marketing, customer service, and consumer trends. She is the founder of McDonald Marketing. She has been featured on CNBC, in Forbes, Bloomberg, Business Week, Fast Company, on CNNmoney.com, and more. She is the author of 3 best-selling books, all of which were among the top 10 business books in the year they were published. How to Market People Not Like You, Crafting the Customer Experience for People Not Like You, and her latest is How to Work with and Lead People Not Like You. Kelly lives in Denver. When she's not on the road speaking, she enjoys hiking and shopping for high heels. Please welcome Kelly McDonald.
Thank you. Thank you everyone for joining today. Thank you to American Gem Society for hosting this important webcast. We're going to be talking about how to help and serve your customers now, and also how to seamlessly prepare to transition back to business later. And we'll talk about how it's not really going to be business as usual. So let's get started here. Everybody knows it's rough out there. Overnight, it seems we went from an emerging issue to an emergency. Companies are dealing with all kinds of stressors right now, the likes of which they've never seen before. Sales screeching to a halt. Governments and health organizations around the world started to amplify the message of social distancing, and brands picked that up as well. Major brands started picking it up. And McDonald's has never changed their logo, ever. They've never modified their logo until now, and they separated the golden arches to indicate social distancing. Burger King did a similar type of thing. They didn't modify or change their logo. What they did was fade back the K and the G in their name to say Burger Inn. So their stores are open, but you can't actually eat there. And so what they were encouraging was, we're still open for business, but you're gonna have to take your burger home and eat it there. Audi's logo has always been the conjoined circles, and they separated those circles along with a tagline that said, keep your distance. Nike's famous for their decades-long campaign called Just Do It, and during COVID, they changed that to Just Don't Do It. This is one of my favorites. I actually get a little emotional talking about this one, but Nike also tweeted this campaign and has this campaign going: if you've ever dreamed of playing for millions around the world, now is your chance. Stay inside, play for the world. So major brands amplifying the message, and they're all acknowledging that it's actually happening. Now in B2B, it's all about your site, because in B2B, your customers and your suppliers are going to look to your site for information. So you want to be able to have critical information front and center on your site that can alert people to changing hours, special notices regarding office openings, etc. And banners can link to even more information. Avoid on your homepage right now sounding too promotional. It just may not have the right tone, and it may not come off the right way right now. So here's a couple of other B2B examples. The one on the left here is for Athene, and Athene is an insurance company that sells to other insurance companies. So their clients, for example, are Prudential or Nationwide, etc. And as you can see here, this is their homepage, and the very first thing that you see is a message to our customers from the CEO. Ally here over on the right, they're clearly highlighting an arrow that says stick to your plan. So these are B2B examples, and what they're dealing with and communicating to their customers is what's relevant there. Here's a jewelry example, and this particular jewelry store is saying, to verify which stores are open, please click here. So again, your website is going to be the first place that people go, and there's an opportunity for you to call out information that is important that people are going to want to know. Also with B2B, the beauty is if you focus on thought leadership, you can find this information in the trenches. Talk to your frontline salespeople, your customer relationship managers, and ask them, what are the things that you're hearing about that people are most concerned with? And if you can then answer questions or address those issues, you're golden. Share those insights with your clients and prospects. So here's an example that I got. It was 14 tips for your COVID response. And it was just general business tips. There was no selling in this particular piece of correspondence. And I, as a business person, really appreciated it. And I shared it on to many of my clients. So this is an opportunity for you to provide thought leadership if you're a supplier to your retail clients, if you're a retailer to your clients. And the importance of this is that it plays very clearly into the purchase funnel. Now, if you've never seen the purchase funnel before, it's actually pretty simple. It's literally, you know, the shape of a funnel. And the idea is that every consumer, every customer travels through the funnel every time they buy something, no matter how small. If I'm buying a pack of gum, I'm still actually traveling through this funnel, which means that it starts with awareness at the top. There's more people who are aware of your brands and your products than who are ever actually going to buy them. And that's why it's a funnel, because at every stage of the purchase process, people fall out and you're dealing with fewer people. Well, thought leadership actually impacts every single stage of the buying process, but here's the kicker. Executive point of views, subject matter experts, and solution to problems actually go after the consumer in the purchase funnel in these brackets here, the mid to low range funnel. And that is exactly where the magic happens, in consideration, intent to buy, evaluation, which typically means, you know, comparison shopping, and then frankly, a purchase. So you want to be able to be helpful to your clients and suppliers with things like executive point of view or thought leadership. It has its place in actual sales. Number two, this one sounds a little harsh, but I think it's an important question to ask. Do you actually have a reason to be here? I believe that the answer is yes for your industry and category, but let me give you a little background and context on this. Every business has been impacted right now, but that doesn't mean that for every business there's a sense of urgency for every kind of product. So here's an example, beer. Beer is a product that people are consuming right now, but they can't go out, they can't go to a bar, they can't go to a restaurant, they can't go to a party. So if you're beer, the only way that you could market yourself is pick up a 6-pack today and take it home. I mean, it doesn't play well. So there's a clear need for your voice if you can actually help people and understand what consumers are dealing with and other businesses are dealing with right now are life-changing events. And so, you know, suggesting that people have a beer sounds a little off. Let me take this example just a little deeper. Miller Lite was running a campaign prior to sheltering at home that was called Here's to the Original Social Media. It was brilliant because it showed how people actually socialize long before we ever had social media. People gathering, laughing, talking, sharing, celebrating. Well, it's a little tone deaf right now because we're not allowed to get together and we're not socializing like that. Again, it was a campaign that they had running before all of this happened, but they didn't pull it in time. And they got skewered on social media because people thought that was completely tone deaf. They got just absolutely skewered. So they pulled the ad and then they came back with this, the virtual tap room. And the virtual tap room is about making sure that people understand that bartenders who not only are out of work, but even when they are working, rely heavily, heavily on their tips, are absolutely, completely out of a job and out of money. So what Miller did was start the virtual tap room, the virtual tip jar, and they kicked it off with a $1 million donation to the Bartender Emergency Assistance Program. So this is how you be relevant. They're not saying, buy our beer. They're just being the good guys and providing for the people who sell their beer day in and day out and the customers who drink that beer. But your business is very critical right now because one of the things that we are hanging on to are those incredibly important, significant milestone life moments. So you have a role here, whether it's graduation, whether it's weddings. This is just a couple doing a justice of the peace. And then I live in Denver, and this is a picture of an actual wedding in Denver that was in our Denver Post a few weeks ago. And if you look at the closer to the altar, you can see that there were like 7 people in attendance, and then they all spread out and did social distancing. These moments still matter, and people want to capture them, and that's where your role comes into play. So lead with empathy, because that's where we're at right now. Start and end the conversations that you're having with your customers, clients, suppliers, with anybody, with concern. You know, how are you doing? How's it going? How's your family? You know, et cetera. This is not the time to be glib or edgy, and it's definitely not the time from a marketing standpoint to be memeing. Offer help, not necessarily products. And even if your products can help, proceed with caution, because what you don't want to ever do is come across as opportunistic during a dark time. Avoid statements that start with I, me, my. Again, it's all about others right now. And build community, not followers. Focus on building your community online, your social media community. So I have seen some companies that have done a really tasteless thing, and that is to link their likes and their followers with a donation. And I personally find that very off-putting. They're saying, you know, like our post or follow us on Twitter, and for every new like, we'll give $1 to the XYZ organization. And I think that's crass, because I think if you're going to give to an organization, you should just give to an organization. It shouldn't be tied to promotional efforts. So if you focus on the needs of others first, you're going to be seen as supporting and not exploiting this. In the example that I just gave of, you know, for every $1 that, for every person that likes us, we'll give $1, that's exploiting the situation at hand. So the real is all of us are going to sacrifice a bit of sales and profit right now. There's almost no way around it. So, you know, I have to be real about that, but I also have to tell you that the moves that you make right now have an incredible opportunity to foster goodwill and trust in your brand going forward. So you have to adapt your marketing message. You have to be relevant. You have to be relevant to these life moments. So here's an example that's not your industry. And, you know, I wouldn't have thought that a plumbing company or an HVAC company could be relevant right now. But this particular company is marketing as they're a great way to make sure that viruses are not spread in your home through some of their touchless products and furnace checks. That's incredibly relevant. And of course, they're still trying to sell their service, but they're tying it to a relevant reason. And be helpful. Steve Madden, footwear. You wouldn't think that anybody is actually having a sandal crisis right now, but you know, it's spring. And if I want a new pair of sandals and I'm unemployed and I'm living on unemployment, I might be on a real shoestring budget. So for the first time ever, Steve Madden is marketing all of their footwear with 4 interest-free payments that break it down in many cases to under $10 a payment. So that's being helpful. U-Haul is offering college students 30 days of free storage. It's right there on their website when you go there. And you know that after those 30 days that they're going to retain many of those customers who stored their belongings there, and they're going to retain them as customers, and that's okay. But we all saw the footage of college students who were given 24 hours to evacuate dorms and get out. Well, what do you do with all that stuff? U-Haul stepped in with storage. And one retailer, one jewelry retailer, is offering free virtual weddings, because that's not only relevant, it's also helpful. So that's all that people can do right now. If you Google virtual weddings, you will see hundreds, if not thousands, of examples of how people are doing this. And it's what they can do. They're not going to put their ceremony off. They're doing the best they can under difficult circumstances. So offer a free virtual wedding and hosting that, and find ways to gift the couples and do some good things like that. And don't rule out unorthodox approaches. I say if it solves a problem, do it. No matter how bizarre, no matter how weird, no matter how off strategy it might actually be for your business. So here's an example, a 5-star restaurant in San Antonio. And because they're a 5-star restaurant, they're not really doing much curbside pickup. People don't get takeout from them. So the chef had a restaurant full of ingredients, and he decided to start selling the ingredients. He's selling what he can. And this was also at a time when the grocery items in the stores were very, very, very unstable and sparse. I mean, sometimes they had ingredients, sometimes they didn't. So in addition to actually selling his ingredients, he also live streamed a preparation show on what to do with those ingredients to make a delicious meal. Very unorthodox, but he's doing what he can. Pete's Coffee, their stores are closed, of course, so they are selling coffee subscriptions, and they've never done that before. Now, this particular ad doesn't say, we're so in tune with you, we're selling subscriptions because you're working from home, but it's pretty much implied that people are drinking pots of coffee at home, and you can now have your Pete's delivered straight to your door. Also, watch what's happening in China. So China was first to be hit with COVID-19, and they are also the first to slowly start recovering. So here are some top luxury brands, not in the jewelry category, but luxury brands, and what they've been doing that might have been completely unorthodox in the past. They're using WeChat, which is a messaging app that's very, very big in China. So Prada sales associates became key opinion leaders, and Hermès, which is notoriously known for not doing anything digitally, actually opened up limited sales from their summer collection and their spring collection on WeChat. Burberry invited their key opinion leaders, and particularly this woman named Yvonne Ching, to visit its store in Shanghai. They live streamed her experience, garnered over 1.4 million views in an hour, and within that same hour, sold out of almost all of the products that they were featuring. It was a special closed store, so it was just this one particular influencer in their store live streamed. And the CEO at Burberry said, "Our customers are craving newness, and the live streaming is a safe and exciting way for us to deliver exactly that, especially at a time when some customers are not able to join us in our stores." So be creative and watch what other people are doing, because if it's working, why not try it? Keep in mind that perfection is the enemy of speed. I think it's much better that you try something and do something right now than to try to wait for it to be perfect. If it's not perfect, tweak it as you go. This is the time for experimentation. So one of the things that you can do is ask your associates to brainstorm and, you know, talk to your suppliers too. Any way that you can serve customers right now, no matter how, you know, unusual it might be, is okay. Getting it done without bells and whistles is better than shooting for the moon and not getting anywhere. The goal is to be nimble and prepared to adjust on the fly. Why do I have a boxing picture? Because this particular boxer, Andre Ward, retired in 2017 undefeated. And his whole thing is about adjusting on the fly. You can see his quote here: "You have to be able to adjust on the fly, and that is what the great ones do." And personally, I'm a boxer. So I can tell you that this punch that he landed here was not supposed to be like that. His opponent slipped to the left just before he connected with that punch. But in a millisecond, a split second, he saw it and he was still able to connect, and that was a knockout punch. So the great businesses, the great organizations do try to adjust on the fly. Also, say yes. Say yes to everything that comes your way. Whatever business comes your way, no matter how small, whether it's the sale or the project, saying yes is good. It's good for all of us. It's good for your customers. It's definitely good for your staff, and it's good for the business of business. So say yes to anything, even things that you might have turned down before because they might have not really been worth your while or too small. Consider diversifying and pivoting if you can. Here's a great example. Marriott hotels. Nobody's traveling. So they can't exactly advertise their rooms and their room rates and all that. Nobody's traveling. So they pivoted. And they started a campaign called Win a Heavenly Bed. And they're doing a contest where you can register to win one of their fabulous beds and all of the bedding. But more importantly, they're selling the bedding. Now, Marriott is not in the business of bedding. They do sell their bedding, and they always have, but they've always made it a very, very, very tiny portion of what's available online regarding information for them. They've never pushed it because they've never had to. Well, right now, they're selling bedding. Be the good guys. I know that you already are, but you need to let people know that you're the good guys. Waive late fees or defer your customers' payments if you can. This is from a retailer, a luxury retailer, and the very first thing that you see in their COVID section is experiencing income disruption, we can help. And then online account management. Provide products to healthcare workers or first responders in your area. This is a company called Jasco, and they don't have anything to do with healthcare equipment or supplies, but they wanted to do some good in their community. So they bought and purchased and donated 1,300 masks and gave them to their local hospital. And donate your workers. I think this is a really interesting idea. My Burger Lab, obviously a burger place, doesn't have product to donate. So what they're donating is their staff. And they're giving their staff the time to go and paid to go work with people who are homebound or elderly to run their errands and grocery shop for them. The point is, doing good is the new cool, and you need to let people see all of the efforts that you're making to be the good guys. Even Louis Vuitton created hand sanitizer. I'm sure you heard about this in France to provide free to healthcare organizations. So a key ingredient, the key ingredient in hand sanitizer is alcohol. And the key ingredient in fragrance is also alcohol. So the Louis Vuitton fragrance factories actually were all set up with plenty of alcohol, and they converted their production over to hand sanitizer and provided healthcare organizations throughout the country of France free hand sanitizer. Talk about being the good guys. So how do you connect with your clients and your customers in a difficult time like this? Again, you don't want to sound tone deaf. So be mindful of your approach. Don't ask your customers, how's it going? Because for most of us, it's not going that well. So a better way is to say, I want to know how you're doing. How are you getting through this? How's your family? You know, talk to me, tell me everything. Because asking how it's going is akin to asking Abe Lincoln, so Abe, aside from the gunshot, how was the show, right? Nobody has a lot of good news to share right now. Be mindful of that and make your comments more personal. Approach your customer engagement with trust, authenticity, positive intent, and open mind and friendship. It's funny, I had a client tell me the other day, she said, we're not selling our products, we're selling friendship. And I asked her to explain, and she said, all of our salespeople have been on the phone with their customers and their clients, and while we're not selling anything right now, she said, some of the deepest bonds are being formed between these sales agents and the customers because they're just talking. And I think that that's something to keep in mind too, is that everybody's anxious, the stakes are very high. So know that your clients may just need to talk, and the most value that you might actually be able to give right now is to be a supportive ear. Think of ways that you can actually add real value to your clients and your community or your healthcare workers now. One of the ways to do that is to think about being what I call quietly helpful. Quietly helpful is, again, not banging your chest and trying to sell anything. It's just about understanding what people are dealing with and stepping in where you can to lend a hand. So here's an example. A mid-sized electrical distributor in Cincinnati was faced with the fact that the clients that they sell to who are contractors, their job sites were actually shut down for the entire month of April. You could not work in construction on any job site for an entire month. So there's nothing to sell these guys because they can't work. So instead, what they did was they instructed all of their salespeople to talk to their customers, and their approach was, how can we help you to be prepared for the reopening? And what they found was at least one of their contractors said, you know what would be helpful is I've got a job site that has hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of supplies, materials, and equipment on it that is not 100% secure, and I'm very concerned about just having it out there for a month. If I could store some of those things with you, that would be helpful. And they're a distributor, so they had plenty of warehouse space. It wasn't about selling anything. But let me tell you, if you're that contractor and you've got somebody who stepped in and gave you free warehouse space for your job site, you're not going to forget that kind of generosity when this is over. Personalized communication is key right now. You know, everybody's doing video conferencing and Zoom calls, and that's all good. You know, we're all used to that now, but let your clients dictate how they want to be communicated with. I mean, maybe they say, you know what, I can't take one more Zoom call. Just text me or email me. Engage in whatever manner is best for them, and let them know that you're with them for the long haul. You're not just calling to check in right now. Show strength, even if you have to fake it till you make it. This is not the time to deteriorate in front of your customers. Your own business may be suffering badly right now, but your customers need you. So you have to show that you're there for them more than ever. They should not notice an interruption in your service if you can help it. And what that might mean is that as you make cuts and furlough staff and make the appropriate budget cuts and cut expenses, try not to cut the areas that actually serve your customers most. Instill the confidence in customers. They need to know that you're there for them with the means to cope, you're giving them the right information that they need to make decisions, and that you're going above and beyond to help them. Being empathetic and prioritizing the customer experience will take you through this. Try not to deteriorate in front of them. Also, with any customer in any situation that you're dealing with, provide solutions, not excuses when things go wrong. It's business. Things are going to go wrong. I make mistakes, you make mistakes, everybody makes mistakes, things happen. It's how you recover from that that people remember. And one thing that they don't want right now, or I believe anytime, is the excuse or the explanation of why it happened. All they want are 5 words. And they're the only 5 words that you want, the only 5 words I want, the only 5 words that anybody wants. And those 5 words are, we'll take care of it. So when you're presented with a problem, don't go to why it happened or what happened. Just jump to, you're absolutely right, we'll take care of that. So what about preparing for business as usual and the return to that? Well, we all know it's not going to be business as usual. In fact, the new phrase that I've been seeing is business abnormal, you know, the return to abnormal. So there are a few things that I want to share with you that might just foster some really good ideation on your team about how to prepare. There's going to be a rebound. Now, we don't know how big it's going to be or how robust, but there's going to be a rebound and there will be increased demand. Anticipate, though, fierce competition. What's happened is, just like yourself, all of your competitors are in the same boat. Nobody has really sold anything in the last 90 days. And so, you know, that is going to hit the market and all at once. So remain flexible by creating multiple sales channels and consider how the needs of your customers may have changed over the last 60 or 90 days and provide for them. Continue working on leads, especially on the B2B side. E-commerce, by all measurements, is going to soar. So what's happened is we've all had delivery for the last 60 days because we haven't really been encouraged to go out. So social psychologists say that it takes 30 to 45 days to make a habit. Well, in 45 days, we've all gotten delivery from all kinds of services. And what analysts are saying is the expectation of delivery is going to remain. So things like apps are going to have to be adjusted because perhaps maybe your store app or your business app never had a delivery function, and now you need to think about that. Also, in the same pattern of habits, the heavy online usage that COVID forced us all into is expected to remain. That means that there's going to be more electronic booking of services, more electronic communication. Maybe people are going to be signing documents more electronically than ever before. You will also have fewer competitors, but you're also going to have fewer suppliers and partners. So start thinking about expanding partnerships now, because some people, unfortunately, are just not going to be able to survive this. The few that do are going to be very fierce competitors for you, but you're going to need to expand your partnerships. And understand that the supply chain is going to be completely overloaded. It's going to be a buyer's market. So one of the things that you want to do right now is try to adjust your margins forecast, because you're probably going to have to slash prices in order to move inventory. Also, working from home is here to stay. Again, almost every analyst agrees on this, is that people are not just going to flock back to being outside of their homes. Obviously, retail stores are retail stores, but even those are going to change. Now's the time to experiment with the tools that are going to make this palatable from a long-term standpoint. So some areas of weakness have been exposed in companies as they very quickly had to move their entire staff to work from home, such as the workplace tools, how do you maintain and create a culture, and security, etc. So the other thing is sincere messaging is what consumers are going to want. They've seen sincere messaging through this process, and they're not going to want to just go back to, you know, everything's got to go, blowout sale. Also, better employee relations are expected. Employees have seen what their employers have done to keep them safe, and that's fostered really strong employee relations, and those are expected to maintain. But the consumer mindset will be changed. We should expect a COVID hangover. Analysts say that there's going to be several different waves of people going back into the marketplace when we're allowed to do so. So some of them will be people like me, and I'm allowed to just, you know, I'm going to go and I'm just going to run out and go everywhere I can. Other people will be more like in the second wave or the third wave. Also, retail may be a place of fear for some, and I think that you need to acknowledge that. There's a lot of merchandise that's touched by a lot of people along the retail path, and that's just a real fear for some. Also acknowledge that many people now realize that they can actually do with less. You know, I've talked to a lot of friends and colleagues and clients over the last month, and they've said things like, my credit card bill is a fraction of what it normally is because, you know, we haven't been dining out, we haven't been going and doing things. And one of the things that's made them do is reflect on what's really important to them and what do they need and what do they not need. And the new level of luxury might actually be wellness. You know, health is wealth. obviously your wealthy clients are going to remain wealthy, but the idea that wellness is going to be the ultimate luxury is a mindset. Expect ongoing consumer demand for cleanliness and a renewed cautiousness about health. This is not expected to be a fad. As people go forward in any business, they're going to be like, what are you doing to keep your store clean? What are you doing to keep your employees safe and clean? So one of the things that you're going to want to do is make it very clear to your clients and your customers what you do to keep your business clean. Touchless checkout, more robust self-checkout, hand sanitizer everywhere. No matter what it is, all the steps that you're taking, you need to market that and share that. And what about for those of you who have elite customers that you serve in their homes as a concierge service? They're perhaps buying hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of gems and expensive jewelry. And I know that for many of you, you send concierge to their homes, and you give them a showing in their homes. Well, in the past, it might have been wipe your feet at the door. That's the courteous thing to do. But now you're going to have to communicate, how your associates go into people's homes so that they don't wonder if that associate could possibly be infected. Are they going to be expected to wear gloves, etc.? There's going to be more contactless customer engagement, virtual events, electronic signatures, contactless delivery. And the businesses that have actually invested in this kind of technology are going to do fine because they're going to come out of the gate very strong. Also, address inconsistent messaging. We talk about how it's like a do-it-yourself world. It's really not anymore. It's become a do-it-myself world. So is what's on your site reflecting what I'm seeing in the marketplace? In a digital world, I don't necessarily have somebody that I can ask that of. I mean, even live chats are actually done most of the time by artificial intelligence. So I need to be able to get the information that I need myself without having to contact someone. And make sure that the digital content that's online is in alignment with what your customer care representatives and your salespeople say. I mean, so many times there's a complete disconnect between those departments, and you want to be in alignment. So put digital at the epicenter of your operating plan and your operating model. Every single analyst and marketing expert is saying that you're going to need to allocate a greater share of your marketing budget to digital and online. So explore new ways of doing that, partnering with established e-retailers, for example. And digital marketing can boost your sales. Also, step up your personalization efforts, though, because your luxury consumers have always experienced luxury service and very personalized service. And so you're going to want to make that digital communication to your highest level customers as personal as can be. Also, don't just focus on the site content, also focus on the mechanics of it and the technology of it. There's nothing worse than this, a broken link on your site, nothing worse. So you've got somebody who's a captive member of your audience right there on your site, and then they can't get the information that they need. Here's an example of a jewelry store's website right now. And as you can see, I've circled the bottom right here where it says stores are opening. We are actually starting to reopen our stores that make it safe for everyone. Contactless curbside concierge service, click and find my store here. Then up here, they're saying potential shipping delays due to COVID. I think this is great. People are typically not upset when they know what's going on. And so if I know that there's potential shipping delays, I can't be angry about that. What drives people crazy is when they didn't know. So share this kind of information with your customers. And this particular site is making it very easy to connect with them in every way digitally, whether it's a chat or book a virtual appointment. Also, review your 2020 inventory and rethink what 2021 collections are going to look like. So you've got your fall and winter collections coming up. You're going to need to have a plan to deal with the unprecedented levels of unsold inventory. And I would caution you to think long and hard about this before you just slash and go to steep discounts, because that can hurt your brand. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm saying think about it and carefully decide, strategically decide. Also, work with your wholesalers and your e-retailers on how they're planning to clear their inventory. In many cases, people are getting creative. And again, the unorthodox things that might not have ever made sense before make sense, like an inventory swap. And what about inventory that you just can't get rid of? Well, if it's unsold, it's unsold. Here's an idea. Reward your best customers with some of your unsold merchandise. And that's surprise and delight, because they're not expecting it. And then if you say thank you for your patronage during the past years and in the years to come, thank you from us, That is the kind of thing that people will post about online. You'll get all the good guy, accolades for it, and it makes sense. Wrapping up, some final thoughts. Cause-related options right now can actually bring your company and your firm and your brand some real visibility. Again, whatever the causes are that you're supporting locally, whatever the efforts are that you're doing locally, you need to make sure that you're marketing the heck out of that, because that's the visibility that you can't get by running a sale right now. Acknowledging that changing consumer behavior is happening and offering help is how you stay relevant. Empathy is an important tone. And consumers really want to stand with the brands that stand for something more than just the products that they sell. And if you show your customers that you care and that you have their back and that you're in this for the long haul with them, they will show you the money. So I want to leave you with my favorite quote of all time. Winston Churchill, if you're going through hell, keep going. I have a book. If this was helpful, I have a book. It's called How to Work with and Lead People Not Like You. You can get it wherever books are sold, Amazon, etc. It's one of the top 10 best-selling business books. And right now, I'd like to take any questions that we may have. Thank you so much for being a great audience. If you would like to post a question, you can go to the operations toolbar at the top or the bottom of your screen, and you can enter a question there, and then I will respond to you. Mark said thank you and great job. Thank you, Mark. Are there any questions? This is your moment for free consulting. I'll give this just a moment in case somebody's composing a question. It doesn't appear we have any questions. I don't think we have any questions, so I'll turn it back over to American. Oh, wait, I think we have a question. Sorry, there was just a moment of delay there. Hang on. Let's see. I have a question from David. Any thoughts on competing? Let me just answer this live, if I may. In terms of competing, again, I think the #1 thing that you can do is to be the good guys and be highly visible about how you're treating your employees, what you're doing to help your customers, and how you're helping in the community. That's how you can compete right now. When business goes back to stores being open and consumers being able to shop again, I think that you have to watch very closely the competitive landscape that you're in and make sure that you're not just doing a me too. And I think that there's going to be a little bit of panic marketing with a lot of, slashing prices down to ridiculous levels. And I think you want to avoid that if you can, and instead say, let us help you, restart your dreams. Your dreams didn't go on, your dreams didn't disappear. Your dreams were, placed on the back burner for a while. Let us restart your dreams and do things like that foster people moving forward. I think that we're going to need a positive message in marketing going forward. And David, I hope that answers your question or is helpful. I just see those 2 questions, so I don't think there's any more. I'll give it 1 more minute here in case someone is typing up a question, and then we'll conclude. Looks like that's it. I want to thank everyone for staying on this webinar and attending this webcast. And David responded and said, good info. Okay, great. David, I'm glad you liked it and found it helpful. And to all of you, I want to thank you for joining us and making time in your busy schedules today to join this important webcast. And thank you to American Gem Society for presenting this. I'm Kelly McDonald. Thank you very much.